Entrepreneurship as it pertains to Botswana, I'd really love for there to be a bit more. There's an innovation hub and a technology hub, I believe, and a startup accelerator program. I haven't looked too much into what it is. I would love to read more about it and advise if I could, but I don't think it's doing as much as it can.
I have a problem with a lot of these hubs.
Yeah, simply because it's not giving the access. I think private sector needs to be involved a little bit more.
Yeah.
Private sector is where it is. I mean, we're trying to move into an economy that our president right now is pushing us towards, right? He wants us to be this gig economy, this digitization, this economy that is not just a hidden gem, but is like the gem.
Yeah.
But we can't do that if our policies in place are very restrictive, right? Not just for entrepreneurship, but even if we're thinking for FDI, foreign direct investments, our domestic policies are so restrictive that it's really hard, even if we're saying Botswana is open for business. No, we're not, because it's really hard to open a business in Botswana as a foreign national.
Yeah.
Now imagine as a citizen. Yes, we have all these Bolea, Bosida, all these different agencies that are to promote youth empowerment and youth entrepreneurship, but without the adequate access to those resources, without the adequate studies in school or policies in place to help people go through the way, without the stakeholders' involvement being mostly private sector, I don't think it will go anywhere.
People of different identities. Podcast with PODI-CAST.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Podicast, coming at you from Leo's Inn right here in Gabane, Botswana, and we're right opposite Middle Star. That's where Leo's Inn is at. You can come through here, you can hang out with your people. If they're coming in from out of town, like, we just had the Forbes Summit, and, things like that. And even if you just want to come to Gabane and chill and you don't want to be calling people up and going to sleep at their houses, you can actually self-serve here as well. So, yeah, we're right next to the pool area here, so it's a big spot. Make sure that you book in whenever you're in Gap City. That's where we're at every single Wednesday, right here on the Podicast. My name is SCAR. I'm your host, and we have another exciting edition. And today's episode, we have the privilege of speaking with a former Miss Botswana 2010 and a former Miss World Africa. And today she's going to be joining us to explore her journey and her upbringing in Botswana, and also ultimately why she decided to dip. Because kind of you'll be out here, guys, hey, Miss Botswana, and then, we didn't see her as much as we do, but we're always happy when she's around. And every single time she's around the country, good things are happening. And like we're saying, the Forbes just ended, and she was part of the contingent, the people who came through, but represent as Batswana, Mo Botswana. So I'm guessing you know who it is. In the house, big up, Emma Wareus.
Yay!
And big up, thank you for coming through and gracing us with your presence. We know you've been busy.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I think this was like a long time coming because we were supposed to do this last year.
Yeah.
And then schedules, and then, you're my bro, so anything for you.
Thank you so much, La Utla Gents.
That's my brother right there.
Your bro, yeah, Mabotswana.
Big brother.
It's a Mabotswana, and did all kinds of crazy stuff. Because it's not, I don't take it for granted that, you put some time aside for us. But what have you been up to? Like, I know you work even when you're down here.
Yep.
So what does your day look like? What have you been up to today?
Oh my gosh, my day is crazy. So every time I come home, I still have to kind of work US hours.
Okay.
So starting off in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm being sent around, everywhere. Yeah. Everybody. And hey, but I'm a girl child, I'm an African girl child, which I'm so strong and proud of.
Yeah.
But to come 2 to 3, 4, I have to clock in and put that American accent back on and cut some deals, honey. Okay. And do the deals and be a boss.
So what type of work is it, like, for those who don't understand? Because like you'd think or you'd have like some sort of privilege because, being Bo, Miss World and all of that, and you're working with Forbes, they can't cut you some slack.
Oh my gosh.
What type of work is this?
So right now, where do I start? Now, currently, I am a tech executive. Okay. So I work for a climate fintech in the US. I've been doing that for about 2 years. I transitioned into the tech space about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So I've just been working in startups, think Silicon Valley, startup type vibes. That's me.
Hook us up.
I mean, I want to.
Hey.
I want to help. That's why I come to Forbes.
Yeah, is it something? Yeah, definitely. Like, before we even get into all of that, because I think we're all looking for opportunity in all of these things, and we're wondering, how realistic is it when you guys come down and I know a couple of people by Batswana come down with Forbes, but how attainable is it? Like for Mwano to that summit to ultimately, let's say, linking up with these companies in Silicon Valley?
I mean, I think it's super easy. I think our government has done a great job at like trying to find young Batswana who are entrepreneurs to kind of put them in the same room with the movers and shakers, people who've started businesses who now run multi-million-dollar conglomerates, venture capitalists, angel funders, investors. I think we've done a good job at like giving that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that there's still more to be done in terms of like actually fostering like how our young entrepreneurs can actually be in these spaces and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Just small things like pitch practices and et cetera, et cetera. But it's very attainable.
Yeah.
I think even if you weren't part of the delegation, but I mean it's not going to happen again. It's the last year.
Yeah.
But there's always next year. If you weren't part of the Botswana delegation that was picked, you could have easily like bought yourself a ticket or hustled to get a ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's about being proactive. I didn't know it was that easy to get into
So
it.
easy.
God, I think we see these websites and then there's this ad. Because I think I only got in after, I knew I was going to MC. Because it was one of those things where they were telling me, but even though we are employing you, you also have to register.
Also go, yeah.
So, and be part of the thing. And then when I did register, I realized how easy it was to be part of it.
So easy.
And people are out here thinking that or something like that.
No.
I can attest to that. Like,
I mean, I can
you can
say
actually get into it.
the average person is not able to. I think the local discount was $250. So that's around like what, 1 point something, almost 2,000 pula.
Yeah.
The average entrepreneur in Botswana who actually wants to be in that space might not be able to be there, and that's why they chose delegates. But I mean, I think there's always ways. Like where there's a will, there's a way. Hey,
Yeah.
like if you gotta struggle for those last couple pulas to make it, if you have to go ask your aunts and uncles 10 pula each, 100 pula each, you'll make it.
Yeah, invest in yourself.
Yeah, invest in yourself.
Yeah, let's get a case. Yeah, you can't be wilding.
Literally, that's 4 weekends without alcohol. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, you
just put
can
it
do
towards-
that. And you know what's crazy is that because I've known you for some time, I know if you say it's attainable,
Yeah.
it really is. Because you were out in these Gaborone streets as a teenager, as a young person.
Oh my God.
I'm not even going like to the wild stuff, but I'm just saying, you've been in these Gaborone streets, you know how some people can feel almost like attaining some of this stuff is impossible. It's for certain families, for certain kids. But, you can easily say, as an average Motswana, you were able to make that move. And now you're out there living in the States and being able to do what you want to do.
I mean, man, my journey, which is why we're here, is kind of crazy. I've done everything. I've bootstrapped to say everything by myself, you know. I can give credit where credit is due to certain, government officials or certain people that have been placed in my life who helped me along the way. At the end of the day, they just kickstarted something. I had to bootstrap a lot of it by myself. So even me being the Emma Wareus, I have a great job. I'm very successful in my career. I have 2 degrees. It wasn't just overnight. It wasn't magical. It wasn't handed to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I can put myself as an average Botswana because one, I interact with average Botswana every day.
Yeah.
I'm not on a high horse.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting on my pedestal. I actually speak to people. At Forbes this past week, like I didn't care about being in VIP sections or up with important people. Like, no, I want to be with Botswana, see what they're going through, like interact with them, mingle with them, party with them, have fun with them, hear what they, what they have to do and like the issues that they face.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm able to say as an average Botswana, we can or cannot do X, Y, and Z because I see myself as one.
Yeah.
Although I am successful in my own right, I understand my privilege to some extent.
Definitely. I want to take it all the way back then. Where did you grow up? Where were you born? Tell us a little bit about your family, who's in the house, all of that.
Well, so I was born in actually, I don't think a lot of people know this, but I was born in Johannesburg.
Okay.
I was born in South Africa. Only because my mom had some medical complications with me. So me and my brother both had to be born in South Africa. Okay. But it was just the birth, came right back afterwards. I was raised by my parents in Gaborone for a couple of years. And then I think just before I started high school, we moved to Gabane, which is GBN, baby. It's my hood, it's my city. And I call it a city because it's not, but it's going to be a city one day. That's my city. And I've grown up in Gabane. You know, I live on my grandparents' farm. I still live there to today. My parents live there. Yeah, man. I mean, my childhood was crazy. I grew up with so much love with my brothers. I had 4 big brothers. I'm the only girl. I'm a daddy's girl too. My mom was super, super strict. I mean, I feel like every other Botswana mother is. Yeah. And I think that's where kind of she instilled some sort of discipline, integrity, standard, perseverance within me. Her and my late aunt. I grew up in a matriarch. And I think I applaud my father for, I don't want to say allowing, maybe kind of forced to, but for allowing his children to grow up in a matriarch, because I never had to, only when I grew up, I had to fight gender norms and, patriarch, down with the patriarch. But I was always empowered as a little girl. Like I never felt throughout my life, navigating through it, I never felt that I was lesser than because I'm a woman, So that's kind of like how my life went. I did my high school in South Africa. And then my final year of high school, I did at Rainbow Gang. And, man, know me back in the days, Scar. Yeah. Like I feel like I was a naughty kid. And people say I should stop saying I was a naughty kid. I was a very loud child. But I think it was because I had to go home when the lights came on. So I had to get everything out in the daylight.
I'm just figuring that out. You had to do
everything I could in the daylight.
Oh my word.
Yeah. That was. In a nutshell, that was me.
So, because you had to come back and forth. What do you think about Rainbow? What is it about Rainbow that produces all of these amazing stars and people who think outside the box? We had Lizibo here. I didn't even know Lizibo went there.
Yeah.
You have the Zeuses of this world, the Sasa classes of this world. What is it about Rainbow High?
Man, I don't know. Hey, I was actually kind of mad that I went to Rainbow because my mom pulled me out of school in South Africa because I may or may not have been naughty. And she pulled me out of school and she put me back in Rainbow. But I think it's also just the atmosphere. I think Rainbow, for me, I don't know how it is now, but it was such an eclectic space where young people could get together. We could just, voice our opinions. Our teachers were so pushing us towards being the people that we are, right? They would actually foster care and nurture into us in whatever aspects we wanted, whether it's PE, sports, whether it's English, whether it's drama. We had really amazing teachers that actually fed into us and actually supported our dreams, sometimes more than our own parents did. And I think that's exactly why Rainbow just breeds excellence.
There's a lot
Watch
of
the
people.
map kids come after me.
No, come on. We have a lot of these kids. Listen, Joe, come on. We can't forget St. Joe.
And St. Joe.
We placed ourselves somewhere there, But I think Rainbow, we have a lot of people, the special talents that come out of there as well. So how do you and Sasa Klass link up? Because like you say, you guys were naughty, you were in places.
We were outspoken and misunderstood.
No, you were in places where you were not supposed to be. I remember where you guys were I think she was 13.
Oh my God.
And I think you were probably 15, if anything. 16.
Because I'm 3 years older than
Because
Sasa.
you guys are at Bull and Bush, Emma.
Wasn't everyone at Bull and Bush? I feel
No, everyone there was a bit older. We were both 20-something.
No, I feel like our age group, every millennial 90s kid in Bots, their story begins at Bull and Bush. I feel like that was just your rite of passage. And also, let's not forget, we had big brothers. So our big brothers were always there watching over us.
Definitely.
And if we didn't have them physically in the country, we had them by virtue of extension of our big brothers' friends.
What do you think about those times? actually added to like what you value now in like how the person that you turned out to be? Because ultimately, if I don't know if you want to get married and have kids. What do you think that is going to add to how you're going to be like a
man,
a
I think
mom?
there was nothing like the 90s. Like, I feel so sorry for these Gen Z kids. Like, my 2000, I feel so sorry for them.
Yeah.
I feel like we grew up in an era where we could be so expressionist, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the cloud of social media in society kind of hanging over us.
Yeah.
We were so, I don't want to say restricted. We didn't really have that much access to the world, which has its pros and its cons.
Yeah.
But we actually lived in the moment, right? We actually we lived in the moment. We found things out for ourselves. We learned our lessons. And it was a very safe environment to grow up in. Not saying that the new digital era is not safe. Like I said, pros and cons. But I think just being in a 90s baby, growing up in that era kind of instilled some level of independence in you. Like, you're not dependent on anybody because you had to figure it out your damn self,
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also just were able to be in such a multicultural, especially like Botswana
Yeah.
area where you are just diverse, and then you hone into your diversity and you're just so eclectic. One day you could be partying in Pakalani at a friend's house that lives in a mansion, and then the next day you're like somewhere else in a friend's house that's like not as well off,
Yeah.
and no one cared.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about like what material things you had, it was just about the connections you made with people.
Definitely.
And so I think growing up and bringing that into my own life, I kind of lead my life that way. That's why you hardly see me on social media. I'm a very reserved person. I'm more conservative than people think I am. I'm actually really conservative. And I want my life to be something else other than just long. Like, and fame and social media and being in people's eyes is just not it. So I wanted to have more meaning than just being long.
And how do you think, being being mixed plays into that? Because, where's your dad from?
Oh, my dad's from Sweden.
He's from Sweden.
Yeah.
And then your mom?
My mom, Kimotswana.
Kimotswana. So Kimotswana ko...
From Maung. So
From
my grandmother
Maung.
was from Lesotho. My grandfather's from Shakawe.
Hey, so how does that then play into like, this future that now you've carved for yourself? Growing up in Botswana, cultural like that, how do you think those values and your traditions, and which ones were your traditions? How do you think, that played into the person that you are now?
That's a great question. To be honest, I see myself as a Motswana.
Yeah.
Ke Motswana le papa o ipona, he just sees himself as a Motswana, a white Motswana man, to be honest. He's lived here for almost over 50 years now, right? And fun fact, my dad was actually the initial town planner of Botswana, of Gabs.
Okay.
And he designed Gab City, and he designed Sirowe, where the mining town is. Orapa.
Hey.
And so like my dad has also deep history here, and he
No, we
sees
need to talk
himself-
to him. He didn't expect the cars to be this
He
many.
did not. I will caveat by saying that
Hey.
my dad is always annoyed because they told him to develop for X amount of people, and he was
cars.
like, this country's going to develop quite
Hey,
rapidly.
man.
Are you sure you want me to develop for this amount of people?
Yeah.
So it's not his fault, guys. It's not his fault.
Not completely.
Not completely,
Hey,
but
not
I mean, it's
completely.
still not his fault.
So in all of this, like you are in the performing arts because you were a poet. I remember that because when I was judging Miss Botswana, you broke down a poem at one point. How did you discover that side of you, like the
Wow.
poetry and I guess that's what you were doing with your gang.
The
and
arts with
stuff.
my gang,
Yeah.
Sasa and nature, yeah. I've always been a very expressive person. Like I said, I was always given the ability and the push from my parents and my mom and my aunt to be very expressive and independent and outspoken.
Yeah.
And how to channel that as a young teenager is in the arts, right? Because you have a lot of expression to take out, and
Yeah.
you don't want to kind of let it go down the wrong way. And so I guess going back to Rainbow,
Yeah.
the only way our teachers saw us kind of channeling this into was the arts. And so at a very young age, before I came to Rainbow, I was in public speaking, I was in debate, I was in drama club. I just loved theater because it allowed me to be someone other than me.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to kind of channel in different characters and personalities while I was still trying to find my own,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so me, Sasa, and Nature, we became very good friends. We were the trio,
Yeah.
the unbeatable and unstoppable trio. And we all had equally as much talent, right?
Yeah.
Sasa was a singer, Nature was a poet, I was a storyteller.
Yeah.
And through that, we kind of cultivated our dreams and our passions and kind of supported each other to get there. And that's why I think each of us individually had been so successful is because we had the support of the other to push us into that art form. When everyone else was saying, oh, you can't be a storyteller, like, oh, you're going to drama school, or you're a poet, or you're a singer, you're a rapper. Who's a rapper? Female rapper in Botswana. We were like, girl, you better go. And, you know, anyone who would listen would stop and like, Nature would start beatboxing and Sasa would start like, you know, rapping.
Yeah.
And I'll be there just in the back because I can't do either.
Yeah.
But, you know, and the same thing, there was kind of continuously pushed me to be more honing into my theater and drama skills. But we were all drama kids.
Then, because you guys had depth and stuff,
we were deep.
How did
woke.
you guys? Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out then how the pageantry becomes a thing.
Oh my gosh! So I had finished school at Rainbow, and I was doing a stint at my uncle's law firm. I was his secretary.
Okay.
Literally, I don't know why I was doing that because I was like literally looking at people's cases. I should not have been doing that. But my uncle gave me a gig. He's like, you know what? While you wait to go to university, come and work in my office.
Yeah.
And I was working in his office one day. So bear in mind, while I was at Rainbow, I was also a model, right? Mpo Lang is the one who kind of scouted me initially with Shike Olsen. So I used to do a lot of like shoots with Shike and Mpo and, you know, makeup, editorials for La Paloja back in the day.
Yeah.
So then Mpo,
how did you get that gig? Like while you're
I don't even remember, to be quite honest. I actually think Mpo had just seen me somewhere and said, hey, come to the La Paloja. I don't know if it was Mpo or Shike, between the two of them, said, come to the offices. And then I came and then we did a shoot. I got paid.
Did you ever consider yourself like,
no,
yo,
never.
I'm out here, I'm smashing
Never.
and whatever?
Even while I was doing
because
that.
Like, there was a lot of tomboy going on there to some extent.
I was
But,
very
like,
much a tomboy.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how did the beauty bug, because you weren't conceited in any way, because a lot of people Batswana are pretty privileged, but like you were out there.
I was such
you
a
were out
tomboy,
there.
and I think I kind of still am. Like I put on a pretty face now and then when I have to, but I'm still true. I grew up with boys, man, so I'm such a tomboy. But no, I did it. It gave me, I think at the time we got like $800 per shoot. It was something back then, right?
Yeah.
And then we just started doing shoots here and there. I wasn't as much into it. I never really called myself a model.
Yeah.
And then Paul called me one day. I was at the office at 18. Which was not really anything. Paul called me and she said, hey, what are you doing right now? I said, I'm at work. And she said, okay, I need you to come to, I think it was Leapfrog at the time. I need you to come to Leapfrog. I need you to come now. And I said, but like, you didn't tell me about a shoot. Like, you know, I'm kind of working. Like, you know, I'm in the office. So then I just snuck out at lunch and I went from Main Mall, got on a combi, went to Leapfrog. And yes, I used to take combis. It's okay, we all did. We all used to take combis. I used to take combis. And I still kind of want to take a combi one day. Can we go take a combi together one day?
No way.
What?
Hey.
What? A hater.
No, I just presented at the farm.
You need this guy.
I'm not even about that life right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, if anyone sees me on a combi one day, just look the other way.
No, we can
miss
go.
it.
I have to wear a mask.
You have to. Okay, that's fine. We can do that.
Okay.
So you can do that. It's fine. So I took a combi to Leapfrog, get there, and I didn't even know that it was the Miss Botswana auditions. I think at that point, I was even asked to come in after they had already kind of decided. So they were short of girls. Mpo had showed the organizers, I think it was Bisao and Fish, 63 Entertainment at the time. And they're like, call her, to call her to come and try out. So I got there, I was like, oh, what the hell is this? Okay, Miss Botswana, all right, you know. And then
Is this the first time around?
The first time, 2009.
Yeah.
And then I got in, they said, well, don't you want to win a car? I said, hell yeah, I want to win a car. I'm tired of taking these combis.
That was
I want to win a car.
That was the selling point. It was the
Benz. So I was like, I'm
the C63.
Yeah. Stationing. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And even though it was cheap at that time, it was still a lot. You know, and I had to also walk before leaving my house in Gabane. A 30-minute walk to the stop. It was a lot. So I was like, okay, let me get this car. I think I can do it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really much, I wasn't into it. I told my mom, hey, they asked me to join this Miss Botswana thing. Like, I guess it's a beauty pageant. I didn't even know what beauty pageantry was. Yeah. And my mom said, oh, that's interesting. I was Miss Botswana. I said, wait, what?
Yeah.
So my mom was Miss Botswana 1978 or 79.
Yeah.
And she's like, go ahead, do it. And that year I didn't win. Sumea Marope won.
Yeah.
And And then I was like, you know what? The next year, I really want that car.
Yeah.
I didn't even care about what it was, what Miss World was. I had no idea. And that's how I landed in pageantry.
Just like that.
Because I wanted a car.
Yeah, because you wanted
Because I wanted to stop taking combis.
You know what's crazy about like a story about Sasa that I always remember, and I think maybe that's where the similarity with you is that like she used to walk from her crib
Yep.
all the way to that
In Mogoditani.
Mogoditani to the T junction, SSKD.
Yep.
So I was always, and people about that bahutara motseleng
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. So is that how you guys gravitated to each other? Because like you guys
Taking a walk to the combis.
taking a walk to the combi.
No,
I mean, what
it's
was
the
it like
time.
that gravitated all of you guys, including nature, to each
It's
other?
the era. I mean, I feel like everyone back then, if you're our age, you were taking combis, right? I mean, I don't know. I'll speak for us. Like, we were taking combis.
Hey.
My dad would drop me in town, but I'll still have to take combis home.
Hey.
No, we were friends way before that. We were friends since I started at Rainbow. I remember I had known Nature for a few years before that because her big brother was my big brother's best friend.
Hey.
And so I'd known Nature.
Yeah.
And so when I went to Rainbow, Nature said, oh, let me introduce you to some people, right? And then how I met Sasa actually, I think I was a little bit jealous because I was like, who's this new girl? Nature's my friend. And then we kicked it off and we just became best friends since then. And we just, it was a soul connection between the three of us, deeper than, I want to say even deeper than sisterhood. It was like a blood bond.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think we'll get back to all of that because of how tragic the story does end. But like just to get back to you and pageantry, what were your friends thinking while you're doing all of this? Because I mean, your girl would wear a cap and be a lekete or whatever. How were you guys able to like? You guys are seeing each other grow in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see on order. How are you able not to be pushed in towards one direction? How were you guys able to be so different and you guys were able to move? Because I see a lot of girls these days who look at each other and think, yo, because my girl is into this thing, this means I need to start doing makeup too.
Yeah.
Like it's a mindset that we have in Botswana a lot of the time.
We follow.
Tech shop, so I don't know what it was about you guys that you were so tight, but then you're so different and you pursued so many different things.
Yeah.
What can you say? Speak to that.
I think it has a lot to do with, one, just like the values you're raised on.
Yeah.
I think we all came from a family of matriarchs, right? And our mothers are strong women. And they taught us to be strong and independent. And they taught us the value of self-worth and self-resilience and to kind of push forward. And they taught us our standard, right?
Yeah.
They taught us that the world is bigger than the four corners of your house, than the borders in which you live in. The world is more than what you just see, the people you interact with. They are 10,000 million trillion different people than the average person you interact with every single day.
Yeah.
And those are the people that one day we hope you will meet.
Yeah.
And so through that push, we kind of obviously, through family values, where we come from, how we were raised, you kind of birds of a feather, right? You kind of find people like the likeness of others.
Yeah.
And that kind of set our foundation. And for us to kind of always stick together while going our separate ways, because we did have a deep love for each other, and we did want to see each other succeed. Like, I don't think, and it's just magical that we all just became a somebody in our
In
one
your own
thing.
way, because I think some people feel pressured to keep going
But
in
I
the
think
same
that was
direction
beautiful.
as friends.
We never felt the pressure, right? Like if Sasa was getting into her music business and where Nature was starting, getting more into her modeling and her poetry and her, and I was getting into Miss World and all that stuff and pageantry, we supported each other. And we said, listen, if actually we would say, girl, if you don't get that, like, don't even think about coming here. You better go and get that.
Yeah.
We were so strict with each other. And we were also so in awe of each other's dreams and possibilities.
What are some of the most memorable moments, though, in pageantry for you?
Oh my gosh.
The first time around, let's start with your name, 2009. It may be good, it may be bad.
I gotta dig deep into that. I think for me, the nod of, or the nod of approval, or the nod of like, damn, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
Was, okay, one, for me, just standard how I was growing up. I always used to sit outside in Gabane, look at the stars, because we had a beautiful sight of the Milky Way. And I used to say, this is not where I belong. Like I belong, it's my home. It's where my heart is and my soul is. But this is not, like, I'm there.
Yeah.
I looked at those stars and I said, I'm, whatever those are, that's who I am. And I used to tell myself that as a 15, 14-year-old snot-nosed kid. And so in pageantry, like, I was like, wait, this could be a stepping stone for me. Like if I delve into what Miss World is, understand who they are, and I did, I was like, this is amazing. This just doesn't take me, because I always thought of going to South Africa or going to Malaysia, because back in the days, those are our two options, Malaysia or South Africa. And then I was like, okay, from South Africa, I'll go into art, the arts, and then pivot, going to Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is attainable. Like I can actually see it.
Yeah.
And so we used to have our rehearsals at Fashion Lounge in 2009. And one day they had like a bunch of people there. And we were rehearsing, and they said, oh, these are people who would potentially sponsor one of you guys. Like, they can't sponsor all of you, but they're going to sponsor the people that they truly think can make it. Yeah. And so we were still in rehearsal, and at the end of rehearsal, I think I was actually the only one that got sponsored. I might be, if someone wants to correct me, please do. But Jagdish Shah was the one who said, he pulled me aside, he said, I want to sponsor you because... like I can see something in you, because we had to do our talking and our walking and all of that, and then we also had to like interact with the sponsors and be like, pick me, please sponsor me. And he was like, I'm going to trust. I don't know what the hell this pageantry thing is, but I think that you don't deserve to be in this place.
Yes.
Yeah. And so he was my sponsor. He helped me through, all of the financial obligations that I had, not all of them, but most of them. Like the dresses that we had to get, because at that time we all had a standard budget so that no girl felt out or left out. We had a standard budget of what we should come to the table with, and he paid for that.
Wow, man.
Yeah. That's
crazy. Back in the day, stuff is always crazy to like dig deep into and find out more about. And then you lose.
And then I lose. I was like, God damn. Me and the Lady Willis, may her soul rest in peace. We were just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, rest
but
in
then
peace,
also
Naledi.
Sumeo is such an amazing girl.
Yeah.
Like we worked with her closely because we were her runner-ups.
Yeah.
And she's just a bubbly, amazing, beautiful person.
So you
and I
felt what she
understood
should have
it.
won.
And I was like, you know what? If it's not my time, it's not my time.
Yeah.
And there was no one else that I could have thought of other than actually Naledi or Sumea.
Are you being for real?
No, I am. Sumea is a sweetheart.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
No,
Are
I'm
you
being
for
very
real
real.
that you felt that?
I mean,
it should have
obviously,
happened that way?
I was like, damn, this is a letdown, because it's a competition. Anyone who's in a competition who doesn't win, even if you come second, third, fourth, or fifth, like you still feel some sort of like,
I feel you.
But then I think the idea, which wasn't implemented in us then, of this being a sisterhood, only few understood, right? And for me to say that I felt envious of another woman stepping in her own and actually going into a life that she dreamed of, just like I that would not be good of me. That wouldn't be like the sisterly thing to do.
Definitely.
So of course there's like a split second of like, dang it.
Yeah.
But then you're like, wow, like this is a babe. I know her. She could possibly be Miss World. This is my girl. Like, and we're a sisterhood now. She will always be in my life. We don't talk that much, but she'll still always be someone that is in a pivotal point in my life, and vice versa.
And then how do you pick up the pieces then? Not, you just didn't explain them as pieces, but like, how then do you pick yourself up again to go through this process again? I'm sure it wasn't easy the first time around, but what drove you to try again?
So funny enough, after Miss Botswana 2009, I got into Limco. So guys, I was at Limco for like a semester.
What were you there for? Like, what did they take you for?
What was I there for? I think I was there for something.
Okay.
I don't even remember. And I'll be very honest, I did not pay that much attention, but I do remember, I wish I did, because I do remember the classes being so entertaining and fun, and I met a lot of my like great friends there. That's where me and Lungo, had our strongest connection. Lungo was in my crew, and like met other friends of ours, and it was like just a really fun time. Yeah. I definitely didn't concentrate as much as I should have, which is a good thing, because then I went to Miss Botswana. So flip side of that, I think I got a call again and like, hey, do you want to come back? Yeah. And I was toying, and my boyfriend at the time, Young Love, was like, you shouldn't do it. I don't want you to be in Miss Botswana. I was like, hater. I think I did it just because of him. I honestly think I was like, boy, like you think I just deserve to stay here?
With you? Oh,
are you mad? And then I think, and then his big sister Her name was Misha.
Yeah.
Misha pushed me. She's like, girl, don't listen to him. Like,
Oh my God.
she said, don't even think about it. Like, do not listen to my brother. She said, well,
We know him.
you know, yeah, you know. So Misha was like, girl, don't listen to him. But he ended up being supportive in the end. I mean, I was 19, so it wasn't like a serious love. But Misha really, like, she's the one who was like, go for it, like, really do it.
Yeah. Shout out Misha, man.
Shout out Misha, honestly. And she helped me with my hair, my makeup.
Yeah.
She drove me to South Africa to get clothes.
Wow.
And his mom, you know, they were very supportive. And my mom was also very supportive.
Yeah.
My dad, I think, was just like, he didn't want to see his little girl get hurt again.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, and also my dad is a professor, right? So he was like, when are you gonna go to school? Because at this time I'm 20 almost.
Yeah.
He's like, when are you gonna go to school?
And you're chasing this dream that's, you know.
Yeah, but he was still very supportive. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, go for it. I let him know what it means. My dad is always a supporter. I'm his little girl,
Yeah.
so he will always, no matter what I do, he will support it.
Definitely.
And then I entered the second time, and then that's how the story went.
When you're entering the second time, because now you say you did do your research about like what
Yeah.
it means, then ultimately when you move from stage to stage,
Yeah.
were you being intentional about all
Oh
of
my
your
gosh,
moves
yeah.
from then on? Because now you won. Did you see this win as, all right, because I think I read somewhere where your project is about disaster management.
Disaster relief and management, yeah.
Yeah, disaster relief and management. What type of projects were you thinking you were going to be able to achieve at that point?
Yeah, so I mean, even from the first time when my mom told me she was Miss Botswana, and she didn't really tell me in depth what it meant, but she
Yeah.
kind of did tell me, you know, this is an honor. She told me some funny stories about her time.
Yeah.
And I was like, this could be cool. I wasn't thinking of it as we could potentially be the only mother-daughter duo probably in the world that has
Yeah.
been misses at the same time.
Yo, cheers to that.
Actually,
man.
yeah. Cheers to that. I think we actually are the only mother-daughter duo who's been a Miss Nation.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could follow my mama's footsteps. And she told me about, you know, the meaning of Miss Botswana and who brought it about, you know, our former first lady, and how BCW started and what it was meant for. And I think that's where the connection for me came. I then learned about Miss World and Beauty with a Purpose and Julia Morley. And then I wasn't really thinking of it as I need to win Miss World. I was thinking of it as, imagine having access to 170 girls from across the globe. Selfishly, not only do I have a place to stay every time I want to travel, I can globetrot, but also I can learn and share ideas. We already live in a beautiful multicultural nation in Botswana. You kind of get to meet people from different places and spaces. But I was like, imagine this on like a national or international stage. Imagine the people who will be there, people that I can pitch not just my project but me to. Like I was still about the arts and theater, and I really wanted to go that route. Imagine who I can meet that can take me to that next level. So it wasn't even about winning. It was just about who I could meet and like the success that I can have post. And then, so that's like, I did my research. I went through it intentionally. I was very serious about where I wanted to be. I was very, you know, I would make sure that not only am I flowing, like pouring into myself, but then I'm also teaching the other girls who maybe it's the first time or second time or who don't really understand Miss World, teach them about what Miss World truly means. And then, I was ready to get out of here. I love my country. I love Botswana. Like, you guys know I'm here like 2-3 times a year. I love Botswana.
And I love the
but
honesty.
I wanted more.
I really love the honesty because there's a lot of people who feel trapped.
Yeah.
When they're here. And, you know, with that said though, with the BCW, there was a lot of talk back in the day about them not giving, you know, their winners everything that they needed. I know during that era of Bissau and Fish, a lot of that, you know, went by the wayside because, you know, they had a reputation to uphold. So they made sure some of the stuff was given. I don't know if Sumaya got her
Sumaya did get her car. Yeah, she did get her car.
And I don't know, did you get all of the stuff that was promised to you? And
So
what was promised to you?
They actually had changed it midway through our year, and they gave us a flat. I mean, it's better than a car, to be honest, because a car depreciates. But they gave us a flat, a BHC house in Block 7.
As yours.
Ours, yeah.
You own
I still do to this day. I own a flat in Block 7. Yeah.
What? No, shout out Fish and Bissau.
No, they
man.
did well.
Yo. Come on.
They did.
Yeah.
I mean, that also goes to say that it did take quite some time for me to get it, but I got it nonetheless.
Yeah.
It took quite some time for me to get it. There was some litigation that had to happen.
Tell us a little bit about that, because like some people don't fight for themselves.
Yeah. I think it wasn't more so on. I honestly don't know the contract that BCW and 63 Entertainment had.
Yeah.
I don't think it was much on their side. I think there was just some payment or some sort of funds that weren't made in time. But you know, I have a fighting mother.
Yeah.
I have a prayer warrior of a mother.
Yeah.
If you know my mother, you know that she will kick down doors and bust down some, you know, tick for me.
Yeah.
And I ended up, I think I got my flat in 2013.
Whoa.
If I'm not mistaken, 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. So, but in the end of the day, BHC was really welcoming. They held on to it, even though they could have sold it because of all the litigation that was happening, more issues. And they held on to it for me because they said, this is what we also wanted to give Emma. So it worked out for me. Yeah.
Definitely. And then let's talk a little bit about your BCW. What was your relationship with them going towards Miss World?
It wasn't that good, you know. I think this is going to be so different. I typically tell people diplomatically how I feel. And I told myself this year, this is the year of brutal honesty. Like, I'm 34. I need to just stand in my truth and own my story, because it's my story.
Definitely.
It could help someone else. So with that said, before I would have said something diplomatic that we had a great relationship, blah, 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 it wasn't that great. And it wasn't that great not because of BCW as a whole, as what they stand for, because I still truly believe in BCW, because obviously it was our founding mother's, you know, baby.
Yeah.
I just, for the kind of the fighter spirit and the go-getter and fast-paced person that I am, it just wasn't working for me. I think I remember, you know, it was just small things, and I can understand at the times, you know, Miss Botswana as a whole didn't have that much funding or opportunity or resources. So things were lacking. The standard that I knew a Miss Botswana should have was lacking, not just because it was me. I'm thinking about the girls coming behind me. Right? I mean, my mom used to ride me around in her, she used to drive a march. It was fine. But I feel like things like that should have taken precedence. I used to be told that, you know, if I was hungry because our offices, Miss Botswana offices, were at BCW by Main Mall. And when I was hungry, like, hey guys, I'm hungry, they would say I should go eat motoho with the kids. So I was like,
because there was a kindergarten.
Listen, not because I hate motoho, because I ate motoho this
nobody
morning.
got time for that.
You know, I love motoho. Like, it's not like I also couldn't sit with the kiddies.
That's the diplomat in you.
Yeah, no, I'm not being diplomatic.
Living our truth here.
I mean, I love those babies because they were my babies. I looked after them for a couple of months before I went to Miss World, like, and I interacted with them. And I'm not shy from motoho. I eat motoho every day. But it was just like,
you know,
it was a standard, so there was just a certain things that I don't think were being done on time. So it, like, nothing towards the establishment and how they are running it. To me, it's just my experience. The story that I had lived through was just not the best. And so I had decided at the time just to cut ties with them and manage myself. My mother, I wouldn't say she was a manager, but my mom would, you know, we would drive around looking for sponsorships and endorsements and, you know, momager type of thing. We would go, like, you know, asking from the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, which I'm so thankful that the government did. They took out money for me to go to South Africa and have my dresses made here. South Africa for, like, you know, the everyday fashions, and then get my evening gowns made here, which was really expensive. It wasn't a lot, so I also had to take out a personal loan. I think I took out about, at the time, close to 400,000 pula, which I kind of just paid off. But
what?
So
Wait
I
a
put myself
minute.
I put my own 20-year-old self and 19-year-old self in financial debt because of it. But I really didn't care because I knew no one can fight harder for something if it wasn't me. I can't rely on my world. Like, what belongs to me is in someone else's hands. That's not going to happen. What belongs to me, and I'm the only person who can get it. And so that's why it may have been passive. It may have been perceived as rudeness or aggression or disrespect. To me, it was a young girl running after her dreams and not relying on anyone to get her there. And that's exactly what I did. But yeah, so there were certain things that didn't happen. I think I did my whole Miss World application by myself, sitting in Gabane on the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. So because like I know about Batswana, I really don't like to be snubbed. Even if it is partly their fault, you know, did they make it difficult for you with the qualifications over there? Because I'm sure as the people who represent the brand here, they're the ones who affiliates with Miss World. So how did that then, you know, get into play? You are not with them, but we still gotta send a representative.
Yeah.
And Batswana ba gorata. So you
Yeah.
can't ignore that Batswana ba. They can't ignore that Batswana ba gorata. So how did you manage to at least keep the peace, ceasefire?
Oh my gosh. So before I left, I had a lot of support from government, you know, thanks to my mom who really pushed and knocked on doors, a lot of doors. My mother knocked on a lot of doors. I knocked on a lot of doors. I would sit outside ministers' offices and OP from 6 a.m. in the morning, sometimes 5, to say, please, please, please help me. My mom would do the same. My mom, you know, and that's why I can understand my privilege, because my mom did know a lot of people in those positions. But it wasn't even about her saying, help my child. It was about me proving myself too, right? So things that were supposed to have been done for me, already set in place, were not. I had to kick down those doors. I had to submit, like I said, my own application for Miss World, like my pictures. I had to get my own pictures done, my own photography, my own, you know,
literally what like
everything
born.
I did my own by myself.
No, I know them well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
You know, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. I think I may be wrong, was the first Miss Botswana to travel first class, because I said I'm not traveling economy, I'm a queen. Yes. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm a queen. But I mean, they also did say it themselves. I might be honest. You know, they were like, "You're the queen. We want you to travel in style and get there." Because it was China. It was far.
Yeah. Sonia. What do they?
Sanya.
Sanya.
Yeah, and you know, also I must give a big shout out. The Chinese community, because it was held in China, came out for me. The ambassador of China to Botswana at the time, Mr. Miles Nunn, they were my biggest supporters.
Yeah.
Them and a few members in government, Jagdish Shah,
Yeah.
those people bootstrapped, like they literally helped me get through what I needed to.
Did you see the love that the country had for you? I mean, a lot of us didn't know you were fighting all of these battles, but did you feel like the love on the ground? Because I'm sure all of us were looking at you as like, yo, that's ours? And we're going to go and represent with her? We were all hype. Why didn't you come out and say, yo, put me on, as a lot of people usually do?
I think because, you know, we have to be very sensitive in matters that are public, right? I think it's not even about saving face or protecting people. I think just at the time, you know, you don't want it to be nasty for another girl coming behind you, right?
Yeah.
And they did have their stories. Not like they didn't. Every Miss Botswana, unfortunately, has had a story.
Yeah.
But you also don't want that to discourage another young girl from realizing and actualizing her dream.
Yeah.
What I decided was that post my reign, whether I won Miss World or not, I would support the next queens and the next girls as much as I could in my own individual capacity.
Yeah.
And I do that till this day.
I know that. I know that for sure.
And I didn't want to kind of dampen it by all this kind of media attention or, you know, gossips. I didn't want, and because if I put myself in that position and I hear what I don't know, let's say from a year before me, Bo eating or Alima Isaacs had to go through XYZ and it was, I'm not going to want to enter. I'm going to be like, you know what?
Very different from like a lot of us here in B-Dub, especially after you've proved people wrong, you know, or yo, you should have bet on me, especially after you do win the competition. You know, it could have been easier for you to come back and say, no,
I would never do that.
So get up that maturity. I mean, I applaud it.
Thank
but
you.
like at the same time, do you think Honore, it helped in any way for the next generation, like how you had wanted it to?
You know what? We're going to go into that.
Okay, cool
but
stuff.
Before we do that, I will say, when I was at Miss World, before I went to Miss World, apart from, like I mentioned, the Chinese embassy was my supporter, Jagdish Shah, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, His Excellency, our former president of Botswana. Like a lot of people did support the initiative after I sold it to them and after they believed in me. Botswana themselves loved me.
Yeah.
And I mean, till today, they still love me. It's insane.
Yes.
I did have support from Botswana because I went to the Khotlas, I did the traveling, I did all of that. And before I left for Miss World, I went to every single church in Gabs to get my prayers. I mean, everyone. I went to spiritual, I went to Anglican, I went to Methodist, I went to ZCC, I went to Catholic, I went to Apostolic, I went to everywhere.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, if you believe in God and you pray for me.
Wow, man.
And I think that's also and I did it on my own accord. I just said, Mom, because I come from a prayerful household, I said, I want prayers, not just from my own Catholic church.
Yeah.
I want prayers from all Batswana. However they pray, in whichever religion they pray in, obviously Anglican, under Catholicism and Christianity, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I did that. And that was my last days of before Miss World. I spent it at the churches getting prayed for.
Yeah.
And it was public. Everyone knew that I went to the churches. So Botswana did love me. I will give them that. Before I left as just Miss Botswana, and when I came back as Miss World first runner-up.
Kind of Facebook was 1 year old when you won that thing. No, that's how I always realize. We are. So
it wasn't 1. It was like 3, 4.
No, well, to the world, because it came out in 2009.
Oh, to Botswana it was.
Well, I registered in 2009.
It was since 2006, bro.
But I guess that was within your Harvard.
Yeah.
And then before it went to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But like what I understand about it, social media then and now, did it have any effect in how?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think, I think even just without being Wareus, Miss World and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful we grew up without social media.
Yeah.
Because, I'm so thankful.
All of us are.
All of us. And I think that plays
are.
into millennials being kind of conservative on social media ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of doing great things have honed into it. Sometimes it's for business and brand purposes. I myself, even back then, because we were Miss Worlds, we were posting and stuff, I didn't want to, just because I am a reserved person. I really am.
And back then you could choose not to post.
And I could choose not to, and I didn't want to. And that's why even till today, I think I just opened up my Instagram about a month ago, public, and I'm very quick going to shut it down because I'm like, I don't like all these eyes on me.
All of these eyes, yeah.
Not because I'm hiding anything, but I also know social media doesn't play a role in where I want to be. Unfortunately, I'm not a brand ambassador, I'm not an influencer, I'm not a brand manager or content creator.
Yeah.
It has no role to play for me in where I see myself. And where I see myself, unfortunately, social media can be my demise. And that's why I've made a conscious decision all these years to not be on social media.
Hey, Little Night 40, we can't get off, man. I can't. I'm going to have to push this show. I'm going to have to push another
that's
thing.
What I'm saying. This is your brand. This is something that aligns with your career, right?
And especially when I get frustrated with it, I can't get out.
You can't get out.
Because it's work.
But it did played a big role, I think. But, it's surprising if you think 14 years ago, Emma Wareus became the Emma Wareus, and 14 years later, people still know me.
Damn.
Without me having to be up in your faces posting and day in the life of me.
Yeah.
That says a lot. But it says a lot not just because of the remembrance of Emma being a Miss Botswana and a Miss World runner-up and a Miss World Africa, the first woman of that in Botswana.
Yeah.
It's because I truly connect with Botswana.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if I'm driving a March, if I'm taking a combi, if I'm in an X5, if I'm in a Lambo, I don't care because that doesn't mean anything. I know my worth. I know who I am. Another thing is I want to be in the position where young girls and boys can see something that they only dream of becoming a reality, right? Yeah. If you can attain it, if you can see it, you can be it. So who am I to be a snob and a snot nose and put myself in a little, pedestal and, just be that girl without like sitting down with you and eating, I don't know, motogo on the floor or like taking a combi.
Don't take us back to the motogo.
And but that's me. That's always been me.
But and I love that about you, and I think that's also what's made you so close, dear to a lot of our hearts. I want to talk about being in that moment though, and you hear your name, runner up, and then and Miss World, Miss USA. How did you feel in that moment? I mean, we remember Mpule. For you were really calm. We still have a vivid picture of that yellow dress. It was. We thought we got it. We really thought we got it.
I honestly didn't know that I got it, to be
Yeah.
honest. Throughout my whole journey at Miss World, I had a lot of makeup, I had a lot of hair tutorials and all that stuff, guys. I didn't do any of it. I barely wore makeup because I didn't know how to, I didn't concentrate on my classes.
Yeah.
I had my hair in a ponytail the whole time because I didn't know how to do it. Underneath my ball gowns, I was wearing sneakers or flats because I was like, this is a lot. Even on the final night, I was wearing, I was wearing sneakers until then I realized, okay, I need to change into heels.
So who was there with you? Like, who was helping you? Since the relationship was not non-existent.
Yeah.
With the BCW, usually they put together a team.
Yeah,
or
yeah, they
something.
did. I mean, Daisy was my chaperone.
Okay.
She was with BCW, and Daisy was like my mom, my chaperone. She was there walking me through Miss World as a BCW representative. So I did have people there.
Okay.
My mom was there. My mom was actually in China for work, representing Botswana.
Okay.
And then actually the Chinese that were with her in one of the provinces she was in, when she said, my daughter's at Miss World, and I'm going to miss it because I'm working here with you guys, they actually flew her to Sanya. So
That's
she had a
good.
lot of support too. So they flew her to
Awesome.
Sanya to come and watch me. So I did have support there. But like, yeah, on the final night, listening to my name from top, I think it was top 10, then top 5. I really honestly forgot. It was surreal. It's a blur to me right now because I don't remember it because I didn't think it would get that far. When they first announced the top 20 or whatever it was, me and Miss Bahamas because we were in the back. We were sitting down. We were sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
And there's like a split second if you rewatch it where like they're looking for me
Then they come
because
find
I'm
you.
sitting down on the floor. I didn't expect. I was like, girl, help me with my shoes. And she's like, Emma, Botswana, it's you. And I was like, what? Oh, shoot.
So this whole time when all of this is happening and that, how do they mark you guys? Like, you didn't see that you would actually get up in the rankings like that?
So, it's interesting. Right now they have like the head-to-head challenges.
It's a whole month now.
It was a month too.
It was a month
It was
that
always
time
a month.
too.
I think we did actually a month and a bit. So I noticed it. They didn't have a head-to-head challenges per se, but I was always picked to speak. I spoke at like some international opening thing that they had, which you could say was a head-to-head. It was only 4 girls that were chosen. I was always amongst the people chosen to go and do something.
Yeah.
And then I was top 5 or top 10 for beachwear. I was in. There was no beach here. I was in.
I'm just laughing on over like that.
Actually,
that's a nice touch.
I
there
was in
from
the
a whole desert dog. Like what?
Yeah. But it's about body, right? Beach body-ish.
Yeah.
I was in the top model. I was top 5 in top model.
Whoa.
I won. I know I didn't win, but I was in sports challenge. I was in the top. Like semifinals for sports. So I won everything that right now is a head-to-head challenge. I didn't win, but I was in all of them.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, and then I was chosen to do like individual speaking opportunities everywhere. Yeah. So I knew it. I knew that they were watching.
So it was automatic, hella high lorry, you run up that you become Miss World Africa?
No. So I actually had not even known about the continental things.
Yeah, the crown.
I had no idea that there was continental winners. When I got back, they announced like at the dinner, oh, these are the continental winners. It's not typical that anyone in the top 3 becomes a continental winner. But I mean, if there is an African girl in the top 3, most likely is going to be the continental winner.
Yeah.
My reign was a bit different in terms of how things have been done after. I was the first woman in Miss World history to be asked to travel with Miss World for the year as a runner-up. And I was the first runner-up. Yes, so I was, yeah.
No, I saw a clip where you were, not a clip, like I tried to watch all of it. I was watching it. You were at Cambridge University.
Cambridge, yeah.
Yeah, and I could tell or you were still like getting into it, but you've been traveling a lot.
Yeah.
So you had to put up all of these speeches.
Yep.
And there you were at Cambridge University.
I
putting
spoke
together
at the Cambridge Hall, yeah.
a whole presentation. Where did you guys go? Which parts of the world?
Oh my God, we went everywhere. We were in Australia, we were in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in China, in the US.
Why did they pick you though? Like where?
I don't know.
happened?
I think, I got called into the office and Julia Morley and Steve were there and they said, you know what, Emma, we have just been blown away by you.
Yeah.
And Julia said, I've never done this before in Miss World and it's never been done. But usually a first runner-up, second runner-up, you just go home and that's it. The winner is the one that goes on tour. And they said, but for the first time ever, we want you, the runner-up, first runner-up, to travel. Contracted the same. My contract at Miss World's contract were identical, except she got paid more and wore a crown.
Yeah.
But we had the exact same obligations and duties.
How was the relationship between you two?
I mean, it was, we were two girls from two very different cultures. So it took some time for us to kind of get along. But she was a sweetheart. She was younger than me. I was like, trying to be big sister to her. And then also Adriana Vassini, who was the third runner-up, she would join us sometimes on tour. The Mr. World at the time would join us on tour. So it was just like a whole big, family.
Yeah.
The Mr. World and his runner-up would join on tour. Yeah, so it was fun.
So is that this way you make the decision that I'm never coming back? Or how did
Oh my gosh, no.
How did you come to this decision? And how easy was it for you to then, live there now,
Yeah, I mean, no, so I traveled with Miss World for about a year and a half, about 2 years, and I continuously have worked with them throughout the years at the Miss World.
And you weren't coming home at any point? Like you were always on
No, I was always on the move. I never
man.
came home I never came home for I think I only came home, no, I didn't even come home for Christmas. I did come home for Christmas, but I was so tired that the government sent me to Stellenbosch for a health and wellness thing.
Yeah.
Like they took away my phones, they made me eat healthy food, and they put me in a spa. And I was like, I hate this. I made friends with the guy in the front desk, and he snuck me out, and we just went to the beach all the time. I told you guys I have a little bit of emotions, but no. So I only came back once. I was traveling. In between travel, I would have maybe a week or two of downtime, but I would spend it with my brothers in Sweden. My half brothers in Sweden, or my cousin in the US. And so that's how the US happened. It was coming close to the end of the reign, and my mom was like, hey. I don't care about when are you going back to school?
Botswana parents will never change.
I was like, Mom, I'm kind of doing a big thing here.
I'm traveling the world.
I'm trying to, it's the first of its kind. This is what's happening. And then my mom was like, okay, at the time too, my gift from Botswana government, from HE, me and Amantle Munso at the time, I think we had both done, we were the star girls of that year. Yeah. We were given a gift of any school we wanted to go to in the world, fully paid for by government. And so HE gave us that gift.
Yeah. Why, did these guys announce it?
No, it was announced. It was announced.
Okay.
I think HE announced it in Parliament. I was still in China, but he announced it, in Parliament that this is and Amantle also soon after won.
Yeah.
So Amantle, unfortunately, I don't know if she took it up because she was signed to Nike, but I definitely took it up. 2 years later, I took it up, and I happened to be in DC, and my mom was hounding on me about getting a school. I looked up the best school in DC, applied, and I got in.
Yo, what did you go for? What course did you go for, and why?
Yeah, I studied international economic development in my undergrad, my BA, and I've always been a politics policy kind of person. Yeah. With Miss World, kind of that allowed me to understand more that that's what I wanted to do. We were talking to ministers and presidents, and I was always the one being asked to speak to, make the opening speeches, or sit next to who and who and who and who and kind of converse. So I was like, I have a knack for this. And that's what I studied. And then my master's, I did international economic policy. So I'm an economist by profession.
Yo, too much maths and too many graphs, man. Yeah, way too many. So how did you figure you had a knack for economics? I mean, a lot of people who come from the arts world usually jump, at the sight of having to remember policies and theories.
I think it's because
of
that. By virtue of who my mom was. My mom was in politics. I'd always, she has files and files and files of all these different things, and I'd always be reading through them and hearing her discuss it with my aunt, and I would always chip in about my take as a youth and what I think. And I think just being that open, loudmouth, I guess, kid who's just stands up for everything and anything. I kibui, So for me, I was like, how can I again channel this strength and power that I have in myself in something that can have a great outcome, and that was international affairs, development, economics, policies, all of that.
I'm trying to link it with fintech.
And then that was just the curveball.
Because here we are, we're doing all of these policies and all of these theories. How then do you combine all of these? And are you walking away from pageantry? Are you you're stopping the celeb life. Like, you don't want to be well known and being invited to things. I'm sure you were invited to a bunch of stuff.
No, I've never been invited anywhere since I came back or was a Miss
And
World.
miss somebody.
No.
So
No one's ever
was this
invited me.
on purpose though?
Where?
You don't get invitations.
No. I've always been open. Every time I used to come to Botswana, I used to say, hey guys, I'm here. No one, I guess, I don't know, honestly, to be honest. I would have loved to work with people here in Botswana, whether it's government or, all the organizations and companies. I was never approached. I was never asked. I had asked, like, hey, I'd love to do this. I'd love to do that. I don't know. Maybe it was because it was misunderstood. Like, people didn't know what it meant. Like, people didn't know if they contact me or they contact Miss World, because I was still under Miss World management. Like, I wasn't just like someone who can come home and then they call me and I go. Like, I was contracted by them. So I think maybe people were waiting for me to finish that year. And then I didn't come back. But I come home very often. I mean, I'm sure you see I come home maybe 2-3 times a year. But I just was never, over the years, I don't think I've never been asked to go anywhere.
Because I don't know which question I'm trying to ask here. For someone who has as much experience as you do, also in pageantry and also in economics and also in international relations. I mean, Forbes can't be calling you out here for nothing. Do you think we see the people who run this country? Do you think they see value in working with you and in whatever capacity and which capacity do you think you want to work with the country?
I would hope so. I would love to. I always say I would love to come and work for my government. I mean, my government put me through school for 2 degrees, and at a very expensive school. So I would love to come in and kind of give back.
They're going to ask us on the comments. Alexa, go on.
What?
The school.
My school? I went to George Washington University. GWU.
No, you can just go. No. Come on, man.
I mean, I have gotten hints over the years, of someone whispering it. They want me to come back, but I've never been asked. I would love to come, I think, somewhere in entrepreneurship, because that's the kind of what I've based my career in policy. I would love to help the government and our people. Everything else, I think, in terms of pageantry, I do my part by contacting girls every year by myself.
I don't have to through the office and stuff.
I don't go through the offices. I honestly don't know, and it's a shame. I don't know why there's always a separation when it comes to Miss Botswana organizers and me. If someone can figure it out for me, please let me know in the comment section below.
No, that's your camera right there.
Yeah, please let me know. I don't, honestly, and jokes aside, I don't know where the disconnect is. I think I have an idea where it is, and I think that idea is because I tell it like it is. I'm brutally honest. I'm straightforward. And I'm blunt. I'm very blunt. I mean, I wouldn't be a tech exec if I wasn't. And so when it comes to young girls specifically, especially the girls who are coming from and they want to try their luck out, I do not want anyone being taken advantage of. I think just nakabuna, I hate people being taken advantage of, and I dislike people who are rude or use and abuse young women. And listen, even through my time as a runner-up for Miss Botswana, I had some unwanted advances. And because I was a strong woman that I am, I put that, I shut it down very quickly. And I don't want young girls I'm privileged, and I must say that I'm privileged in the way I was raised. So I know that I have a backing. If I was to badmouth someone because of an advancement that I was unwarranted, I know I can go to my mama. But there's a young girl out there who can't go to their mama, right? But there's also, apart from the gory stuff, there's also a young girl who doesn't understand what this means. Like when you're telling me to do this and telling me not to do this and do this and not do this. There's a young girl who doesn't understand what that means. So I think the disconnect comes where I'm just like, I will tell the girls how it is. And I will tell them, if you need me to step in, I will. And I don't think that's wanted because of, I guess, the powerhouse that I am.
Do you think they just want to lower standards on purpose so that, because they know you know what standards should be, as far as taking care of the girls, as far as making sure that
I think that's what it is. I think it is something that if I was to see a Miss Botswana or the girls being not treated as queens and I mean, guys, look at South Africa. Those girls, even if they don't win, the finalists are like, they live nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're treated like queens because they're potential queens.
Yeah.
And if I see that happening to our girls, I think I would step in, and I have in the past.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they never called me back.
How does the Miss World organization look at Botswana? I mean, there's 2 million of us. We have 2 Miss World Africas so far.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had Mpule a couple of years ago. We're not bad at all. We
We're
had
not.
Balesa out here doing her thing.
Yeah.
When in the corridors, if you've
In the
heard
offices,
anything,
yeah.
Barring, what do they think about Botswana?
Honestly, I think Miss World does see Botswana, right? And I don't want to be like a big head and say because of me, but
go for it.
I mean, kind of. And I don't want to be arrogant, shame. I hate it when I do that. But no, I don't want to be arrogant. But it goes to, it wasn't just with me, right?
Yeah.
There's Miss Botswanas who came before me.
Yeah.
And I pay homage to them all the time. The Alima Isaacs, you know,
Yeah.
The Sumaya Maropes,
Yeah.
the Karabo Samsangs who came after me.
Yeah.
These are girls who, bit by bit, in their own right, left an impression of Botswana at Miss World.
Yeah.
What's her name? Elias. Muitepi Elias.
Yeah.
They came before us.
Yeah.
So it had nothing to do with Emma Warriors. For all I know, they could have been like, oh, these Botswana girls for the past 10 years, and then I came.
Yeah.
But there's somebody along the line who kind of like opened their eyes to me or to Botswana. And so I think they see that. And I think each year they see it, but maybe there's just something missing. Maybe there's something lacking. Maybe it's just here or there we need something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's political. I don't know what it is, but they do see us. But I think I say all of that to say that it has nothing to do with a Lesego Chombo or an Emma Wareus or a Palesa Molefe. It has to do with those beautiful queens of ours who actually made sure that we can walk in those places, right? That we can be seen in those places and in those spaces because they left impressions and nuggets in those people's minds because it's the same kind of, Miss World is the same crew year over year. And they left impressions in them for us. And how beautiful is that?
That's amazing,
right?
man.
That a Sumaya can go and leave an impression for an Emma. It's amazing, you know?
Because it seems like, and that's what I always try to compare it to, like the ratios, that thing. We're so few, but like look at the impact so far.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't go unnoticed. I start that conversation off to get into this new beef that Botswana has with Miss World. We
have beef?
You haven't been on the socials.
No, I haven't.
There was a young beef. I mean, when Palesa, it was Lesego. Yeah, when Lesego was up there. We'll talk a little bit about Palesa because she also did her own thing over there. Where we felt that, we should have won. Or we should have been in the top 3. And, Batswana...
we were in top 4.
When we get on the socials, we started going after the organization. We started going after NM Julia Moli and all of that.
Now, don't come for Jem now. Jem is like she's my mama, grandmama. No one come for Jem.
So I'm trying to figure out on order, is that going to hurt our chances?
I don't know. It's
Going
it's like,
forward.
guys, would you want to work at a company where their employees keep bashing them? Even if if I was to say, Tato, I will give you CEO position at XYZ company, but every single employee has bashed that company.
Yeah.
Would you want to work there?
No, I wouldn't.
So I think it's kind of similar.
So, but Mela, at the same time, I don't want to put you on
I
the
don't want to
spot
say
as
that
well,
I don't want to
because-
say that we've dampened the chances. I think Lesego was a young, bright girl. I'm yet to meet her. I haven't met her. I haven't spoken to her. I think we've crossed paths at Forbes, but I wasn't able to, or she wasn't able to. I don't know which one wasn't able to talk to each other. But I think Julia is not a woman of like ditaba.
Yeah.
She's not. She's a very British woman. And I don't think she will take it. I mean, guys, think about the Philippines, a much bigger country than ours. Whenever their candidates lose, they go all out. So yeah, I think that's just I don't think I don't think we'll dampen our chances at all. It's about the girl.
Okay, speaking about the girls, what do you think has been the shortfalls since 2010? The shortcomings. what do you think we've been lacking? I mean, I don't want to mention names, but yo, man, the last time before Lesego, it was you. So what's been going on in this space? What could we have done better? And what can we do better going forward? Because we really want to be up there as well.
Yeah.
Because just like with athletics, it's something that I think we're good at as a country. Pretty girls. But
yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know really. Like, I think I try my best to get involved every year because I know Miss World, I know Miss Morley, I know what she looks for. Yeah. But every time I ask to be involved, people shun me away.
Yeah.
So I would like to kind of like, I want to kind of say, because I'm never involved, but that's a selfish reason. But actually, no, I think that, sometimes you really have to know the system. You have to know Miss World. You have to, and the girl themselves, you have to know who you're picking, right? Just because someone is pretty to us on the outside, like who are you? Like, what do you stand for? Like at the depth of your core, what are your beliefs, your systems, your morals? Where's your North Pole, like your North Star, and your moral compass? Where is it? Yeah. And I think that takes a long time to tap into, and a very different kind of person. It's a once in a lifetime kind of person you can come into contact who can do that. Not to say that the girls in between Lesego and myself have not been that, but I think also to hone that out takes a lot of skill to do that, right? She's been doing it, I guess she said she's doing it herself for 6 years. It's a long time.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always innately had it because of my mama.
Yeah.
I've always innately had it in the way I was raised and the things I was, the kind of environment I was set up in. I always had that in me, and just who I am as a person. But then these girls in between, I don't know. We don't know what we could have unsurfaced. Yeah. That we just didn't have the resources or the skill enough to be like, that's what you should do. When I went to Miss World, I was trained by Melanie Fricka. And my aunt Barbara, she also used to train me. Yeah. And these are powerful women. Melanie used to train in Pule. Yeah. So Melanie Fricka, they're local Batswana. Her mom owns Playmates, the creche, and I went to Playmates. Yeah. So Melanie Fricka trained in Pule and trained, I forgot who came after Mpule. So she knew.
She knows how to do this.
Oh, like my God, if I was to tell you my training sessions with Melanie, my auntie Barbara, and my other aunt, my aunt Melissa's mom, it was hectic.
Yeah, I know Melissa's mom.
Yeah, Melissa, the makeup artist, Melissa. It was hectic. I trained, like, even just to like how I move my eyes, how I speak. Yeah. I was always a great speaker, but even just like sitting here looking at you and then I just like, smizing, how I turn my head.
Did you not see it work?
How I turn my head and the use of the English language and like studying on different things and different, yes, please. Studying on different topics of the world, things that I didn't even know, walking and how to walk like a queen graciously. It's not here play. You don't just catwalk because you want to walk like Naomi Campbell and that's a beauty pageant. No, I studied, and my Melanie used to have actual homework for me. Yeah.
So we take it for granted because especially with like professions. We look into the technical aspect of everything. Do you think the past didn't in the head up? They really didn't care about it that much. This is not just walking. This is not just looking pretty. There's a technical aspect to it. And do you even care to try and fix these relations with whoever it is? I don't even know who's in charge. Well, we had Brazeni. Benjamin. They're trying to bring the Miss World here to Botswana as well. I don't know if Julia will be able to listen to him without you in tow.
Oh no, Julia will. I think.
I mean,
when Miss World came here last year,
how do we make peace?
I wasn't brought in as part of the organizing committee, if you want to say, when Miss World came last year, which she was very upset at. Right? Don't forget, Julia, like I said, is like my grandma. She's like my mama. Yeah. Like, I've been with that woman for 14 years of my life. Yeah. I literally messaged her today, And so it also just like think of optics. Like, You
doesn't
have
look good.
a winner from your country that is not even here. Like, what? Like, how does that make it make sense? But no, I don't think it would. Benjamin and I have known each other for 14 years, actually.
Yeah.
Benjamin was, when he was at BNYC, he was instructed by my number one supporter, the former Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture.
Yeah.
He loved me.
Yeah.
So he was instructed to take care of me at BNYC, was my hub, basically, which they never did anything with. I guess because they had their own issues. And so that's where he learned about Miss World and Miss Botswana. And that's where he was like, oh, I want to try this.
Yeah.
I have nothing against Ben. I think Ben is doing something that takes a lot of guts and courage and that a lot of people cannot do. I think it's about really bringing in the right people into making this what it could be, right? I know that now we have Nicole, who is a former beauty queen herself, who understand what it means to go to Miss World, but that's not enough. Nicole by herself cannot help change the landscape of Miss Botswana.
Are you expensive?
I've never
Like,
been.
I'm trying to figure out Honor because guys are always talking about budgets.
Can
and
I
like, they
tell you
don't have
something
enough money
funny?
and
Funny.
whatever.
Every time I come
Because I can
home,
see you. I mean, he's sat across the table from me just like you now. And I think you're both reasonable people. And if it's only a matter of a conversation between you and Ben, I'm trying to figure out what could be wrong.
I mean,
What
Ben
could-
has my number. You know, Ben has my number. And, you know, I don't know. It's really sad because it's like every single year when there's a Miss Botswana and I reach out to the girls and I will always do like whatever I say right now is not to say I'm never going to do it. I will
Yeah.
continue to reach out to these
Yeah.
girls and support them.
Yeah.
But there's like always a switch after, like before as they're finalists, I reach out to the finalists, like the top 10 usually, individually, by myself, take the time.
Yeah.
Congrats, my love. Hope you, here for you, whatever you need, here
Yeah.
for you. Love, kisses, big sis.
Yeah.
And then the top 3, I reach out to them. Congrats, my love, big sis. Welcome to the Sisterhood. If you need
Yeah.
me, I'm here. This is me. This is my number. The winner, I send a message to. Hi, my love.
Yeah.
Because I've been sending them messages, right? So
Yeah.
they're used to me and they interact. Oh, thanks, Em.
Yeah.
You know, they talk to me, we giggle, we like each other's pictures, whatever.
Yeah.
But there seems like to be like a switch after they win. And I'm like, but I don't understand where this, and it's not the girl, I'm not saying it's the girls.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but there seems to be something that happens between the whole time I'm speaking to these young ladies when it's just me and them.
Yeah.
Because I do also tell them, like, I don't want other girls to know, because, you know, I don't want girls to
Yeah.
feel like, oh, Emma reached out to her and not to me. Sometimes it's not nice.
Yeah.
But then after they win, then there's just like something switches. And it has nothing to do with the girls, like I said. So I don't know what's being said to these young girls. And sometimes I think this year it's going to aggravate me a little bit.
Nice.
Like whatever's being said to these young girls needs to stop. Because there will be no one who will fight harder for them but me.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that for a fact, for free. Because I have nothing to lose and I have nothing to gain. Like I've made my money, I've made my success, I'm successful in my right. I've worn the t-shirt, the cap. I was second at Miss World and they're going to beat me at that. That's what I want them to do. I want them to beat me at that.
Yeah.
Someone's already beat me at Miss World Africa.
Yeah.
Someone beat me at being Miss World.
Yeah.
You know, I want that, you know, but
Yeah.
if they don't want to reel me in, there's nothing I can do but continue to just message these girls privately and then them not responding because someone's telling them something.
Yeah, ne? I don't know. Sometimes can do it and then we keep scratching our heads.
But like
And
I
then it's
said, I'm
50 years
open.
later.
I am so
Yeah.
open to it. I'm so open to it. Like I want to be involved. You know, I've spoken to Miss World a few times over the years about taking over the Miss Botswana license. But then I also don't want to take away from, I know Ben's passion and what he wants to do. And I respect that. And if I was a sly person, I would definitely take Miss Botswana from him because I can.
Yeah.
But I won't because I know that he has, I'm sorry, that's just fact. Because I respect Ben and I respect Ben and I respect his vision and I respect what he wants to do. And he works so hard for these girls and for that. But I'm here if
There's
anyone
the
needs me.
diplomacy again, though. Like but I'm hearing, Honor, you know, you really, really have these girls, you know,
The interest at
their
heart.
interest at heart.
I will take like when Palisa went to Miss World, she came to Gabane and took my dresses from 14 years ago, mind you.
Yeah.
But she still looked good in.
Yeah.
So like I will do anything. I will literally take the clothes off my back to give you if you're going to Miss World and you don't have.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of person because I have, guys, like I have,
Yeah.
you know? Like I'm not looking for fame. I already had fame. I'm not
Yeah.
looking for notice because I don't need anyone's notice but my Batswana,
Yeah.
like their love and support.
Batobam, yeah.
Batobam, man, they
Yeah.
already know me. I don't need anything else.
And they still love you because I think that's the question that a lot of people always ask. It's like, all right, cool. So Emma won and then just decided, yo, I'm just going to go about my way and just go. Because not a lot of people see what you do get up to. Partly because of you not being on socials. And partly because you're doing this in confidence with these young girls.
Yeah.
So Bone, when they do, turn their backs on whatever mentoring that you're trying to do, how do you take it? I mean, can they always come back when now, if they've been burnt? Because, you can ignore what those guys are, but then you get burnt. Can they always come back if
always.
they
Listen,
didn't listen?
I mean, Palisa's story is like I think one of those. Like, I came in a little bit late. I think, actually, with Palisa, I really fought on that night. If you guys remember, on her night, the Miss Botswana ended like 2 hours. There was a 2-hour standstill, and that was because of me. I was like, no, this girl's going to Miss World. She deserves to go to Miss World because I saw what she was, and people hated me for that. Whatever. Yeah. Because I was like, this is the stat. You guys brought me in. This is the standard. Yeah. This is the girl. Send her. Right?
What was it about her for you?
I don't know, man. It's just when you see it, you see it. When you know, you know. And she was just a passionate young woman. And then I think right after that, nothing. And I was brought in. Me and Palisa connected a little bit too late, I should say. But she had already gone to Miss World and she had done her stuff and she was, doing great. And I wish I had been brought in a little bit earlier so that, whatever she was going through, and it's her story. I don't want to tell her story for her. And so I'm trying to be very sensitive about that right now. Yeah. But, if that had been the situation, I don't know, because we, also goes to what headspace she was in and where she was, and she was enjoying herself, but things on the back end weren't really looking well. If that had been different, we don't know. Yeah. We don't know.
And Lesego, Chombo, what does her thing look like? Like, why do you think she didn't win?
I also don't know. Honestly, I think Miss World is very different. I can't tell you where she may or may not have lost points. They look at you from the minute you step off that plane until the second you leave that place. Like you're having eyes watching you 24/7, from the waitress to the bus driver to your chaperone to like everyone, the front desk staff.
So it's not an official. Like,
no,
everyone.
I mean, they're not
watching
telling
you.
them to watch you, but obviously, like, because I've chaperoned Miss World before, and I have definitely gone to the waitresses and been like, tell me what happened. Tell me the deets. And they do tell us, because also they'll be like, oh, you hear the Skinners, and so a girl who might present like, I'm an amazing sisterhood, in the chaff is like being mean to other girls, or is like, the mean girl of the group. You never know where you lose points, is basically what I'm saying.
Awesome stuff.
You just don't know.
And now we have Miss Botswana, Anisha Gautuse. Have you met her?
I haven't physically met her, but same thing. I messaged all the Miss Botswana girls, as many as I could. I think I messaged the top 3, Haley, Sabaha, and Anisia. I've spoken to her. I told her, like I said, like I tell everybody every year, hey, my sweetheart. I mean, if you guys, I have receipts. Yeah. But, hey, honey, how are you doing? Yeah. Congratulations. Welcome to the Sisterhood. Big sis is here. If you need anything, I got you. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Shout out. Yeah.
But they're receptive to it. I don't want to keep you long because, Rape, your voice has been strained. We're going to bring you back again to the Podicast because Tatahela, we also want to know what you want to do with your future. But I also just want to know about like your all-time top 5 Miss Botswanas in order of appearance, from like number 5 to like
not
number 1.
Appearance. Don't be doing that.
Appearance in all of, Ngondo.
Everything.
Everything. Because
oh man, I can't.
I don't want to keep you long. We recorded this a bit late and just want to give you some time to be able to rest as well.
Wow. I don't know.
From number 5.
I can't do that.
Come on.
You know why? Because all of our Miss Botswanas had something so unique. Like obviously, actually, let me rate them. So the first would be Miss Botswana 1979, Miss Tepo Chape Wareus.
Yeah.
My mama.
Mama.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Come on. You got to get more.
My mama. No, I think everyone was so unique. When I was in Miss Botswana, the person that I really looked up to and like I really admired, obviously apart from Mpule, was Alima Isaacs.
Oh, Alima.
I loved Alima so much. Like, I don't know, there was something about her. Like, I wanted to be her so bad. So Alima was my role model for Miss Botswana when I was in that time. And Mpule too, like, it was amazing meeting Mpule after I came back from Miss World. Mpule had
How
reached
is she?
out.
Like, what kind of person
great.
is she, though?
Oh man, like this was 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
When I came back from Miss World, I got a call like, hey, Mpule's in town, she wants to meet you. Honey, best believe whatever I was doing, I dropped it. Because I was like, this is my foremother, basically.
Yeah.
This is, without her,
Yeah.
she planted that seed
Yeah.
for me to be the root.
Definitely.
For me to be the tree for someone else.
Yeah.
For that tree to be the flower for someone else.
Yeah.
And so I was super busy that day. I remember I was so busy. And they're like, Mpule wants to see you. I said, cancel on everybody. And I went to see Mpule, and she was so sweet.
Yeah.
She said, if you need anything, same thing, Sisterhood, told me, gave me just our little secret things, between me and her.
Yeah.
And that she will always be there for me. And she has. And I think that was also an example of why I wanted to do the same for the girls after me.
Definitely. Since you won't get into that one, I'll ask you one more that also could possibly get you in trouble also. Yellow bones versus dark skinned ladies. There's been a conversation about, those who win the crown here in PW. Apart from Mpule, we get more success with fairer skin. I don't know if that's anything you could speak to.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to that. Honestly, I'm sorry. Listen, I think
You gotta give me something.
I don't
Emma.
know. Honestly, the times I've been a judge, I picked Palisa.
Because people started saying,
So,
there was a time
can't
there
say anything.
when, because no wina
After me, yeah.
after you,
Yeah.
and then it started being
What's happening?
and now let's.
No, I mean, I think, that's a question for the people who are judging.
Okay.
Because maybe they had, like I heard recently, one of the young Miss Botswana girls were telling me they auditioned, because I keep in touch with them,
Yeah.
they auditioned for Miss Universe. And one of their questions at Miss Universe was about the SDGs. And I was like, well, that's kind of sad, because that was what Miss World was about. Like, so why are we copying? So I think it's also comes to the education part of the two separate pageants and what they stand for. And if you know that sometimes you just want to go with what has worked. So I worked. So they're like, okay, someone who looks like Emma should always go.
Yeah.
And then now after Palisa, they're like, oh, shoot, someone who's like Palisa. And now after Lesotho, someone who's like Lesotho.
Yeah.
And I think that's wrong, because we're all individually unique in our own ways. And it's not about our physical appearance that got us the crown. It's about what came out of our mouth and from our heart and our head.
Yeah.
So I think the judging panels have to be more, aligned. The organization has to be more aligned. Like the people who are taking on the contract for Miss Botswana have to really know what they're looking for.
Don't doubt. We absolutely love you for being a change maker. And being remarkable, and also, apart from being just a beauty queen, like you represent so much for what Botswana is, and also being out there and excelling, because I always think that any Botswana who's able to leave out of here can probably make it out there if they apply themselves, and you're such an example of that. What are we trying to do in the future? Are we trying to get married? Are we trying to have kids? Not me and you, I mean.
Hey, wifey will kill me.
But,
I think for me, what the future holds, I definitely am thinking more and more as I get older. I'm 34 this year. I do want to come back and kind of make a base in Botswana. I want to
I
start.
thought you were going to say a baby. Bulldog, courtcy of our guys
Bulldog.
at Drinks Direct. You can get it at any Safalana liquor, and you can get it at any liquorama.
I can I
Want
want
a base or babies?
I want to make my base.
You're really good at this. Like you're ducking me.
No.
Not this question.
I'm almost there. I'm almost close to being bicontinental.
Okay.
I kind of think I am bicontinental. I travel between America and Botswana so often, but I
Is
do
it
want
because
to.
you got like a booth thing? You got
No,
like.
it's because I have parents that are getting older.
So there's no significant other, Emma, like completely zero.
What the thing that?
I'm trying to figure it out. Like, you're all the way out there. Is there anyone who, you can call if someone there's a lurking person outside the door?
Of course there is.
Whoa,
Of course there is. 100%.
Tell us about Umi.
Hey,
But
what's wrong?
Owang, is he Botswana looking? Is he Nigerian looking? Where did our queen end up?
You'll see. Why doesn't I ended up in the C-suite of a tech company.
Okay.
That's where I ended up.
That's
where I
dope
ended
also.
up.
But we also just want to
Yeah.
know, because like you're a sweetheart, you know. So we're trying to figure out if you're out there
Lebate
by
dikgomo.
yourself. But we know we'll probably get
You're gonna
what?
wait for them for a long
Might get
time.
some crypto.
You might get some crypto. You might get some crypto. No, man.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, in all honesty, I think. Thank you for having me. I think it's
Yeah.
really important that our voices are heard in a time where we Scar, you're alike, right?
Yeah.
You are one of the forefathers of hip hop, and I apparently am one of the foremothers of pageantry.
Yeah.
And I think telling our stories and where we came from and how we got there and how we navigated and the hurdles that we've had, hopefully plants a seed in the ones coming after us to be like, shoot, like we have it easy because they were in the trenches, in the mud, in the gutter.
Yes.
But I do want to come home and continue helping the young girls from Miss Botswana. Hopefully, government, if you hear this, I'm open. If you want to make me a minister of something,
Oh, yeah, that's where I was gonna go.
I'm open and available.
I was gonna go there because
If
is about to happen.
if it aligns with what I'm making now.
But it's probably not. You're making it in dollars. So civil service, I mean, you are for the people. So I'm thinking maybe later on in your life, it's something you'd
I mean,
be able
in the
to
next
consider.
2 years, I'm considering if I get an offer from government. I'm joking about if it's the same amount, it will never probably not be the same
Never.
amount. But I am thinking about that. I think I have a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
I do think there's something that I can do here because I speak to everyday Batswana guys. It's tough. It's tough. Life is tough for Batswana, for the average. We're privileged and we have to accept that.
Yeah.
For the average Motswana, life is tough. It's a struggle for our people out there, and I want to be a part of something that can implement some sort of change. And I think I'm well qualified, maybe overqualified.
No doubt,
but I
Minister.
think we can.
And really, really in closing though, how is it? Is it safe being a Motswana in America? You know,
Yes,
we
yes,
get like
yes.
all these
Yes,
stories.
it is.
Guys are
It
out
is.
here just scared for their lives and whatever.
No, America is a fourth world. Ooh, let me not say that. 'Cause my visa. America is a fourth world country. JK, I love America. You know.
So what do
I
you
still
pass
live there.
off for? Because whatever
I'm-
nobody passes on for Mexican.
No, I pass off as Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's where I live, DC is the largest population of Ethiopians outside of Ethiopia. So they think I'm Habesha.
Okay. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Haile Selassie. We thank you so much for hanging out with us. And
Thank
ladies and
you.
gentlemen, there's a question from the floor.
What do you think of our current queen and what can you say to her?
Our current queen. Did we not cover that?
We spoke a little bit about
her.
it, but like Arumoni, and then
Yeah.
they spoke a little bit, but like
I can say it.
okay.
So,
Sorry.
Anisha, I think I've spoken to her. I messaged her. I think she's obviously I haven't had a physical conversation.
Yeah.
I really do want to meet her, and I'm open to meeting her if she wants to meet me. I think she's a sweet girl. I would love to meet her and get to sit down with her and kind of impart the sisterly knowledge onto her. And Anisha, I am always here for you.
Yeah.
No matter what anyone says, girl, I'm your big sis. Once a Miss Botswana, always a Miss Botswana. There's no running away from that. And, lean on your big sisters who've been there before you. They want your help. Not just me, I'm sure others have approached, want your help, not because they want your shine, but because they want you to shine more.
Yeah.
So I think, in the context of Botswana, in the context of the globe, like where? Everywhere. Of where I am. Yeah, I think, it's really fun to be in a tech startup and to work in startup life. It's my 4th year in startup now.
Yeah.
Building startups from the ground up. So that means like everything,
Yeah.
fundraising, helping the CEOs, like all of that, employees, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
It's really fun to see how different things are done in the US in terms of after your university in Botswana, I believe you go to do your internship once you're done.
Yeah, once you're done.
In the US, you do internships throughout your college career. So
I
by
think
the
there was
time
a
you're finished,
midpoint where after 2 years.
After 2 years,
maybe
no.
you do. Yeah.
us you do it from first year
Yeah.
onwards. And it's so interesting to see these young people, Gen Zs, be so outspoken and are interactive with our CEOs, and are kind of like setting the foot for what entrepreneurship looks like in the future. I think it's a really hard market right now, just for any entrepreneur, because funding is, at the trenches, inflation, all of that. Entrepreneurship, as it pertains to Botswana, I'd really love for there to be a bit more. there's an innovation hub and a technology hub, I believe, and a startup accelerator program. I haven't looked too much into what it is. I would love to read more about it and advise if I could, but I don't think it's doing as much as it can.
I have a problem with a lot of these hubs.
Yeah, simply because it's not giving the access. I think private sector needs to be involved a little bit more.
Yeah.
Private sector is where it is. I mean, we're trying to move into an economy that our president right now is pushing us towards, right? He wants us to be this gig economy, this digitization, this economy that is not just a hidden gem, but is like the gem.
Yeah.
But we can't do that if our policies in place are very restrictive, right? Not just for entrepreneurship, but even if we're thinking for FDI, foreign direct investments, our domestic policies are so restrictive that it's really hard, even if we're saying Botswana is open for business. No, we're not, because it's really hard to open a business in Botswana as a foreign national.
Yeah.
Now imagine as a citizen. Yes, we have all these Bolea, Bosida, all these different agencies that are to promote youth empowerment and youth entrepreneurship, but without the adequate access to those resources, without the adequate studies in school or policies in place to help people go through the way, without the stakeholders' involvement being mostly private sector, I don't think it will go anywhere, because you need people who've been in startup, who know startup. Startup, like I say, in my company that I work for now, 1 day is a week, 1 week is a month, 1 month is a year. That's how fast it moves. So we cannot imagine a young Botswana entrepreneur who's in fintech or health tech or something tech trying to start out and it's taking them 3 months to just leapfrog.
Just register.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Because like I said, 3 months already is 3 years now in startup world.
Sheesh, man.
So it's really hard. I think a lot can be done if the right people is put in place.
Ma, you have a question? She's brilliant.
But yeah, no, I think there's a lot to be done in our space in Botswana. I've heard so many young Botswana, I think over 20, who have brilliant ideas in tech that can really leapfrog us to the next level as a nation, especially in health tech and fintech. But they just don't have access. They don't have the mentorship. They don't have the incubators. They don't have private sector involvement. And they don't even have like the infrastructure in terms of like internet, access to Wi-Fi, 5G, being able to sit somewhere and work without electricity being cut. And so that even goes into a deeper issue, like I said, our domestic policies that need to be kind of maneuvered or changed or implemented so that a lot of these things it can the trickle-down effect. We have a lot of bottlenecks in our society right now. But we don't need that. But we don't need that.
That's the only problem. Like, they said that they were going to reduce the amounts, but like, hey man, it's still up there. And like,
but I mean, because we have we have Orange, which is a French company that doesn't do what the same models that they have. No, I'm just saying the same. No, it's nothing bad. The same models. Orange, you can sponsor me. I can work for you. But the same models that they have are very different country over country. It's an inverted triangle of how you access network, right? BTC too. Like, I mean, like, as much as you're trying, but I said enough before Tato doesn't get his next sponsorship. Let me keep quiet.
It's them niggas. It's not Orange.
No, I wasn't even saying Orange in that way. It was just an example.
I'm playing.
We need more players in the market who can access more and tap into more of those kind of data stuff. We need more players in the market.
We need more players in the market, and also that foreigner, trying to get into setting up a business in Botswana is almost impossible for foreigners. And like, we'll be trying to bring people over here, and like you're saying, the people who make the policies don't really know what's happening on the ground.
I can't even set up a business in Botswana, and I'm a Botswana, because I live in the US.
So let's on the company secretary but like, it takes forever, man. So I fully hear you, and these dudes told me that we had 1 hour, 30 minutes.
Look at that.
Guys, it's been so dope. Emma Wareus is in the house, and we absolutely love you. And you look absolutely amazing. Shout out to Z. And we'll put down Astro Beats.
Astro Beats.
Astro Beats.
Astro
right.
Beats on the beat, baby.
Astro Beats on the beat, baby. So check them out on Facebook and get yourself beat up. We'll see you guys another time. We'll see you guys next week, Wednesday, actually. Yeah, right here on the PODI-CAST. Another one done and dusted. We out. Peace.
Bye.
People of different identities. Podcast with PODI-CAST.